Despite not performing at their best in the first half, they took their chances in the second to secure the European crown for the 15th time. It was not easy though, with Dortmund having a better XG. Dortmund made it difficult for Madrid with a mid-block 4-3-2-1 defensive shape. With Sabitzer joining Brandt behind the striker, they blocked off passing angles into Madrid's midfield, where Camavinga and Bellingham were lurking. Because the wingers Sancho and Adeyemi positioned themselves very narrow and further back from the front, they were able to carry out two roles out of possession. Sancho's position in particular stopped passes into Bellingham, who likes to take up positions in this area. His position also meant that he was close enough to the fullback to provide support when the ball did find its way to the dangerous Vinicius on the left. On the other side, Adeyemi would often drop into a hybrid back five and allow Martsen to defend the half space with Schlotterbeck. This was because Madrid formed a back three in the build-up with Kroos slotting between the centre-backs or on the left of them, which allowed the fullbacks to advance down the lines. Rodrigo's position in the half space was covered by Martsen and Schlotterbeck, while Adeyemi mostly coped with Carvajal in the first half. This was difficult to fulfill all the time though. However, when Carvajal was able to get the ball in wide areas and get a cross in, it was not a viable scoring option without a powerful presence in the box. As we said earlier, Kroos often took up a position in the back line, forming a back three, and with Dortmund covering the central spaces with their 4-3-2-1, it meant that the wide centre-back was able to bring the ball forward into the half space and find a pass to a fullback. This shape had a purpose in that Real Madrid want to get Rodrigo and Vinicius operating in the half spaces, as this is where they are most dangerous. And by positioning Carvajal wide, it allowed Rodrigo to move over to the left with Vinicius moving inside as Madrid formed a front line of five. Bellingham and Vinicius were able to combine in front of Dortmund's defensive line, and this occasionally saw one of Dortmund's centre-backs needing to press, which opened up a hole in their backline. This tactic worked in the 23rd minute with Carvajal protecting the right side. Rodrigo finds time in the half space on the left to combine with Vinicius to create a 2 versus 1 on the right back. It's Jadon Sancho's positioning though that allows him to get back quickly and prevent any dribble into the box and just force a cross. The pivot moves between the centre backs, the right back moves to the wing, and the left back moves into the pivot position with Sabitzer, and the winger moves centrally. In doing this, Dortmund created a 3-2-4-1 shape in which to threaten Madrid's goal, and did this particularly in the first half. Bellingham moved over to the left from his central position when attacking, as Madrid formed a 4-5-1 to stop Dortmund. But their midfield line was too flat sometimes, and Dortmund were able to thread passes into Brandt and Sancho playing between the lines. And here, the two playmakers would try to get balls through Madrid's back four, which allowed space behind for Adeyemi to run into, as Dortmund had 3 shots on target and 2 big chances, compared to Madrid's 0. But they just could not find the right angle to score. Keeping their 3-2 base in the second half, but instead of playing through the lines, a long diagonal pass out to the flanks became much more of a feature for Dortmund in the second half. Maybe this was because Madrid had tightened up the spaces between the lines, or because Dortmund wanted to stretch play. Dortmund's second half possession shot up from 36% to 51%, and this started to play into Madrid's hands as their number of shots and chances went up. Sancho and Brandt often took up positions closer to Madrid's back line, meaning that Ferland Mendy was occupied, and this allowed the right back to find space more often on the right to cross. It then fell on Vinicius to cover this space, perhaps with the intention of neutralizing this threat. The problem is that when the right back advanced, it left a lot of space for Vinicius to run into and use his pace. This had a part to play in the second goal. Dortmund were caught in possession and the right back was not in position to cover Vinicius. Both teams were seemingly happier to sit back in a 4-4-2 block, most of the time in the second half and counter when the chance presented itself. On occasions though, Dortmund's two forwards pressed the centre-backs and the wingers covered the full-backs with Sabitzer on the pivot. But Madrid were able to play through this and looked more dangerous playing the ball quickly to the forwards. A tactical battle with the managers coming out evens, but with the quality of Madrid's lineup coming out on top. This was a final that we never expected to see when the competition began, but a final that both teams deserved.